Hello students, welcome to the course on banking loan operations. In this class, we will learn about banking innovations. In this video, we learn concepts like e-banking, telebanking, internet banking, mobile banking, smart cards, RTGS, NEFT, and other innovations banks have adopted in recent years. And also, we study the evolution of new age banking. And the purpose is to be familiar with the technologies adopted in banking and to understand how banks add value to their services by innovating so that we will be capable of using these technologies for our convenience. Now, let us discuss electronic banking or e-banking. It is also known by names like online banking, internet banking, or virtual banking. It is a new dimension to banking that enables customers of a bank or other financial institutions to conduct a range of financial transactions through the financial institution's website. Electronic banking facility is provided by all the banks and financial institutions. I hope you have used this facility from your bank. Usually, you access your bank's website and log in with your username and password and then conduct a variety of transactions like requesting for checkbook, requesting for statement of accounts, requesting for debit card, hotlisting debit card, and also money transfer transactions. Now we shall move on to the next concept, e-commerce. I wonder you might have ordered for goods on Flipkart, Amazon, Snapdeal, Myntra, and such other websites and got goods delivered at your doorstep. And there is a list of websites where you can order for goods: Flipkart, Amazon, Myntra, Nykaa, Big Basket, Grofers, Jabong, and so on. So defining e-commerce, it is essentially a paperless exchange of business information through computer devices. You can order on your laptop, on your tablet, on your mobile, or any computer device. So it is a commercial transaction routed through internet. There are different e-commerce models like business to business, business to consumer, business to government, consumer to consumer. Now we shall talk about popular electronic delivery channels. There are mainly five: ATMs or automated teller machines, smart cards, telebanking, internet banking, and mobile banking. So the ATMs, automated teller machines. You must be familiar with this. ATM is a computerized telecommunication device that provides banks customers a secure method of performing financial transactions in a public place without the need for a clerk or teller. Using an ATM, customers can withdraw cash and check bank balances. Some ATMs also support cash deposit feature. They are called cash deposit machines, CDM, in which you can deposit cash into your account and get a receipt for that. And ATM cards have magnetic stripes which contain card number and other security information. PIN, that is personal identification number, is a confidential security code which an ATM card user inputs into ATM machine to carry out a transaction. And ATM devices are of two types: monofunction devices and multifunction devices. Monofunction devices support only one type of mechanism for financial transaction, that is cash dispensing and statement printing. Multifunction devices incorporate multiple mechanisms to perform multiple services like accepting deposits, dispensing cash, printing statements, etc. Some ATMs also support biometric, tax payments, and such other services. In India, monofunction devices are installed by all banks. An ATM machine typically looks like this. Let us move on. Smart cards. Smart card is a chip-based card and is a kind of an electronic purse. A microchip is embedded in it, which will store a monetary value, which is the withdrawal limit. When a transaction is made using the card, the value is debited and the balance comes down automatically. It is more secure than ATM, debit and credit cards, and card-related frauds and crimes cannot take place in a smart card. It provides communication security as it verifies whether the signature is genuine or not, because the chip can store the signature of the account holder. The card also recognizes different voices and compares with the recorded original voice. So it has voice recognition feature. And it is truly powerful token which carries out all the functions of magnetic stripe cards. We shall move on. Next we have telebanking. Telebanking is not totally new to us. It has been so long since companies allowed public to place orders over telephone. Banks have also adopted the practice. So telebanking is a customer service offered by banks for the customers to access their bank accounts through a telephone 24/7 and from wherever they are. And it is used to carry a whole range of transactions that do not involve cash. It is usually used for placing checkbook request, last three transactions report, debit card hotlisting, and such other services. And account holders who avail this service are given a PIN number and also an additional password for availing additional services. These are the services offered through telebanking: online balance inquiry, details of transactions, request for services like checkbook request, draft request, funds transfer request, request for a statement of accounts, and so on. Now, the internet banking. As we know, internet banking is a platform for electronic delivery of banking services to the customers. Here, customer with a PC and a browser can have access to his accounts through bank's website, and he can perform various banking functions. So we need a PC, a laptop or a desktop to perform banking functions. The customer can avail of banking services from anywhere and at any time. Internet banks products are information kiosks, that is, it provides detailed information about loan and deposit products of the bank. Basic internet banking, we can do all the basic banking functions on the bank's website. And e-commerce banking, using internet banking feature, we can do online shopping. As I said earlier, we can purchase goods and services online using internet banking. Let's move on. Mobile banking. Mobile banking is one more convenience to customers. With the advent of smartphones and 2G, 3G, and 4G technologies, obtaining banking services has become even more convenient and simple. We can get some services through a missed call, IVRS, or an SMS. I hope you know what IVRS is. Integrated Voice Recording System. What happens during your telephone call to a toll-free number, right? For this, press 1. For this, press 2. So that is Integrated Voice Recording System. SMS, you should be knowing. Short Message Service. And there is one more feature called IMPS, that is Immediate Mobile Payment System. It was launched by NPCI, that is National Payments Corporation of India, in 2010. IMPS is a mobile feature which allows instant transfer of funds from one bank account to another bank account. Let us have a look at the advantages and disadvantages of mobile banking or e-banking. Firstly, it is round the clock. It is 24/7. You can perform uh, any transaction at any time and from anywhere. And it is convenient and simple. And the cost involved is low. Compared to traditional banking, e-banking can help the banks to keep the costs low because the number of staff required will be low and the cost involved for providing services will be low, and the bank will be capable of supporting any number of transactions online. So it is low cost and it is profitable for the bank. And speed. The most important feature in e-banking is the speed. You can perform any number of financial transactions in a short time. So the speed. And constraints or drawbacks, disadvantages of e-banking. It has huge startup cost. A bank has to invest a huge amount on developing infrastructure required for e-banking. It has to invest on servers, technical staff, developing mobile apps. So it has to invest a huge amount. It has a huge startup cost. And training and maintaining cost is also very high. You need to train your staff from time to time, and the maintenance cost of servers, mobile apps, updates are also very high. And there is a lack of people who are talented in software development, hardware networking, etc. And there are security issues. The cases of cybercrime are increasing every day. It has legal issues. The bank has to comply with Information Technology Act and also a number of other regulations and directions issued by the competent authority. Let us move on. RTGS and NEFT. RTGS stands for Real-Time Gross Settlement. NEFT stands for National Electronic Funds Transfer. So these are the money transfer facilities provided by participant banks with slight variations. RTGS has a limit of 2 lakh rupees. I mean, if you want to do RTGS, the amount should be 2 lakh rupees or more. Okay. NEFT can be for any amount. NEFT can be for any amount. But RTGS starts with minimum limit of 2 lakh rupees. Let us see how it works. When a payment message is initiated through the bank, it moves through the clearing house and the paying bank account with the RBI is immediately debited, and simultaneously the receiving bank's account is credited through NET. So here there are parties involved: clearing house, paying bank, receiving bank, paying customer, receiving customer. So totally 5 parties involved here, and these paying bank and receiving bank have an account with RBI. Next, NEFT, National Electronic Funds Transfer. It is a nationwide payment system in which individuals can electronically transfer funds from any bank branch to any individual having an account with any other bank branch in the country participating in the scheme. So NEFT and RTGS both work only when there are two different banks involved. One is paying bank and the other is receiving bank. As I said earlier, SBI and then Kotak Mahindra Bank. Okay, two different banks are involved. So a customer from SBI send RTGS or NEFT to a customer of Kotak Mahindra Bank. Now let us look at the advantages of RTGS and NEFT. Sending money through RTGS and NEFT is very fast, and it is safe and effective, and it is irrevocable. Irrevocable means it cannot be revoked or cancelled. Once you send RTGS or NEFT message, you cannot revoke it, you cannot cancel it. There are no settlement risks involved in RTGS and NEFT because it is done through RBI and it is highly dependable. Processing cost is also very low. There is nominal charge for RTGS and NEFT depending upon the amount, and there is no risk of fraud, loss, etc. If you have keyed in the details accurately, there are no chances of fraud, loss, or anything. And then disadvantages or drawbacks of RTGS and NEFT. It seems highly technical because you need to know these things. IFSC code, which bank, beneficiary name, bank branch. So it is quite technical. Unless you have thorough knowledge of how it works and what are the things needed, you must not do it. And also, there is risk involved in all online payments. When you perform a large number of online payments like this, there is always risk involved because you may commit a mistake or you may commit an oversight. Moreover, it is irrevocable. Once you send a RTGS or NEFT message, it cannot be cancelled. Next, credit cards. As you know, credit card is a card or an instrument which extends credit or loan to the customer. So using credit cards, you can dine in a hotel, you can travel, you can purchase goods online or offline, and you can buy a variety of goods and services. And you can make immediate payments without carrying hard cash. There are some benefits of credit cards, like it is simple to operate and easy to carry. It is convenient for the customer, and the withdrawing limit or credit limit can be revised. It is a symbol of prestige for the customer. It brings high profit for the banks because banks charge very high interest on the credit amount used, and the bank can get new customers by issuing credit cards. There are drawbacks, of course, of credit cards. Cardholders are burdened with service charges. Cardholders are burdened with service charges. It may tempt the cardholders to buy more, so they will be in more debt. And the cost involved in producing a credit card, the plastic card, and marketing it, paying merchant establishments is so high. Credit card frauds are so rampant, and there is very low penetration of credit cards in India. That is to say, very less number of people in India are using credit cards. Penetration is very low. So debit cards. A debit card is also a plastic card which can be used instead of cash to make purchases. The amount is directly debited from the user's bank account, and there are some differences between debit card and a credit card. Credit card is a postpaid product, debit card is a prepaid product. You must have known prepaid SIM and postpaid SIM in telecom, right? In the same way, credit card is postpaid. That is, you draw the credit limit and then you pay, right? But in case of debit cards, it is prepaid. Debit card is a prepaid product. I mean, you must have sufficient balance in your account and then you have to use debit card. Without having sufficient balance in the account, you cannot use your debit card. So it is pay now product or prepaid product. And in case of credit card, the holder can avail of credit for 30 to 45 days. But in debit card, customer's account is immediately debited. There are more chances of fraud in case of credit card than in debit card, because debit card has a PIN number, right? Personal identification number. But most credit cards come without a security feature. Next, this is a very interesting topic, demat account, that is dematerialized account. A demat account is an account where shares and securities of an investor can be held electronically. So just Google for images on share certificates. You will get some. You will get some scanned images of share certificates. So many decades back, people used to physically secure such share certificates from companies. So they were the proof for having shares in that particular company. But instead of keeping those share certificates in physical form, you can have a demat account in which you can have those shares in dematerialized form. Okay. In this picture, there are some papers which are converted into electronic form or computerized form. A man is sitting there in front of a computer. So those papers are dematerialized into computerized form or electronic form. So this is called dematerialization. So physical share certificates, hard certificates are converted into electronic form. So that is the concept of dematerialization. A demat account can be opened by a DP, that is a depository participant, who maintains his DP account with a depository. There are only two depositories in India. One is NSDL, National Securities Depository Limited, and the other is CDSL, Central Depository Services Limited, NSDL and CDSL. So in NSDL or CDSL, DP maintains an account. You can open a demat account with your DP. There are so many DPs. You can open an account with DP, like Motilal Oswal Securities, Angel Broking, Sher Khan, IIFL, India Infoline, ICICI Direct, and so many are there. So now look at the advantages of demat. It eliminates paperwork. There is no risk of bad deliveries, fraud, and misplacing certificates. It will shorten settlement time, which is now T plus 2 days, that is trade day plus 2 days, 3 days totally. Distribution of dividends become easy. So dividends can be obtained on the shares you hold in the demat account directly to your bank account. So dividends can be directly credited to your bank account in less time. So cost of transfer is less. You can transfer those shares to some other person with less cost. And demat account can be operated at any time and from anywhere. It is 24/7 service. Then drawbacks of Demat. There are too many formalities involved in opening a Demat account. You have to sign a number of forms to open a Demat account. You have to provide a number of documents, and there are many agreements involved in it. So it involves too many formalities while opening a Demat account. Transactions are uncontrollable at times. When a large number of transactions happen, it becomes uncontrollable, right? Especially in case of huge amount transactions. I mean the transactions in which huge amounts are involved and huge volume of shares are involved. So such transactions become many times uncontrollable, even though there is a capital regulator SEBI. So it becomes uncontrollable. Next, MICR, that is magnetic ink character recognition. It is a technology used to verify the legitimacy or originality of paper documents, especially checks. So it uses a special ink which is sensitive to magnetic fields used in printing of certain characters on the original documents. On the face of the check, you might have observed MICR band at the bottom of the check. There is a band, white band, right? Which contains check number, MICR code, account ID with RBI and such things. There are a set of numbers, right? That is called MICR band. It is printed in, those numbers are printed in a special ink which is sensitive to magnetic fields. So this ink is used not only in case of checks but also in case of other important documents. The advantages of MICR technology are the transfer of funds between two banks can take place very easily and at greater speed. Clearing work is made easier, manual work gets reduced, accuracy is increased. So these are the advantages. So this MICR printed checks are inserted into a machine. That machine checks the authenticity or originality or legitimacy of those checks. So this makes clearing work easier. Then drawbacks of MICR. MICR technology is very costly, especially you have to use that ink on a special paper, thick paper. That paper is costly, and also that magnetic ink is also very costly. And it is limited to some cities only. E-checks and truncated checks have evolved. You might have heard CTS checks, check truncation system. Like a currency note which comes with all the security features, a CTS check also comes with security features like watermark, uh, standard format of bank details, magnetic ink, and such things. Next, this is the check which belongs to SBI account. Here you can see date of issue in a particular format, date, month, year, and then this is IFSC code which is 11 alphanumeric number, 11-digit alphanumeric number. For example, it is not very visible. For example, SBIN in capitals, SBIN 0009047, like this. It's a alphanumeric number. And payee name, amount in words, amount in figures, signature. There is account number here which is blurred, and then here check number which is of 6 digits, 021985. This is the check number. It is 6 digit in all the banks. Then MICR code which is of 9 digits. First 3 digits, 462. It is the city code. For example, 560 is the Bangalore code. Bangalore 560. 462 I don't know. 002, the next 3 digits is the bank code, that is SBI code 002. Next 3 digits 015. This is branch code. Branch code. So in that city, that bank, that branch. Okay. And the next number is account ID with RBI. This particular account will have an account ID with RBI 016958. So this is account ID with RBI. And there is transaction code 31. So this is the savings account check. So the transaction code is 31. And it is different for different types of accounts. For cash credit it is different. For current account it is different. For overdraft it is different. So different types of accounts have different transaction codes. Okay. And thank you students. I hope you have enjoyed the lesson. If you have any doubts or queries or need any clarification, please feel free to WhatsApp me at my number or leave a comment in the comment section. Thank you once again.